intro here.
And we're going to make it snappy.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Office Hours. It is Thursday, August 5th. My name is Heather Cox. With me today is...
Hey, I'm Stephanie Stevens.
And I'm Victoria Dean.
And I'm Garrett Chandler.
And we are so pumped to have our dear friend from the Teams program team. We love him because he gives us all the answers and he's so kind and polite. Max Fritz is here to talk to us today about Microsoft Teams Rooms. So Max, we're going to turn it over to you. We'll turn our stuff off and you have the floor.
Okie dokie. In just a moment, you should all see my slides.
Yep, you're good to go.
Okay. So as Heather said, my name is Max Fritz. I am a program manager on our Education Experiences teams, which is just a fancy way of saying that I get to stick my fingers in all the fun pots that make up your Office 365 experience. Mostly Teams, because that's where all of our teaching and learning is happening nowadays, but lots of other stuff as well. And we are going to talk about Teams devices today and how they can work with hybrid and remote classrooms. So a little bit about what I'm going to cover. We're going to start with a quick little intro to Teams devices overall, what it means and what Teams rooms are and peripherals and you know, kind of break down everything for you. And then I'm going to jump into some real scenarios of personal spaces and classroom spaces and how you can really use devices in those spaces, some of our recommended configurations. And then we'll see what kind of time we have to jump into some of the actual experiences that you can have with Teams room systems. I will try my best to monitor the chat as we go. And if you've got questions, I think we can jump into those at the end. So, first things first. You hopefully all know the value of Teams as a remote learning tool and a in-person learning tool. Teams is quite fantastic in all of those ways, but in conjunction with the value that you're actually finding in Teams, you can actually add on devices to really build out a more intelligent meeting experience. That's where all of our devices are centered. So we focus on a few key principles. Number one, all of our devices that we certify meet a certain bar of quality, meaning you know you're going to have the utmost of rich meeting experience and your connection quality is going to be as good as possible, with the exception being your network connection. We want things to be flexible so that you can deploy devices in different space types, whether those are maybe a examination room, a large lecture hall, or a small classroom, even huddle spaces or staff and faculty collaboration spaces. We want things to be inclusive. So no matter what kind of device you use, whether you're using Teams on your PC, a room system, a phone, a mobile device, even our large Surface Hubs, you're going to have a consistent user interface so that your educators don't have to really try to figure out everything. And then for those who are IT oriented here, all of our Teams devices maintain the same security that you already get out of the box with Teams. So we want to provide solutions for you for any sort of budget and any workspace. At home, we want things to be easy for everyone from your students to your educators to use their personal device and maybe accessories and peripherals as possible. Yes, in the chat, even iPads. Whatever kind of device somebody wants to bring to the table, we want it to work. We want it to work well. We want people to be seen, heard, and engaged. We also want to provide technologies for the larger spaces like classrooms and lecture halls. And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. And then our three core categories that we like to look at are teaching, learning, and collaboration, and combining all three where necessary. So we're going to jump into some configurations here first. These are going to be our personal space configurations. And when I say personal space, I generally mean home, teach from home or work from home. But if you've got faculty members with offices, or even staff members with offices or maybe small rooms that people can kind of rent out and use. I'm blanking on the right term for that in the industry nowadays, but hoteling style anywhere inside of your facilities, that can work as well. But looking at home, what kind of devices can you use for teaching and learning at home? Well, first of all, we have modular peripherals. We have everything from webcams to speaker pucks to headsets that can be used at home to enhance the experience. Now, don't get me wrong. We know that not every student out there has the means to get their hands on Teams certified peripherals, whether it be accessibility and availability or price-wise. And that's why Teams works perfectly on mobile devices, on Windows PCs, on Chromebooks, everything. You're going to still get a good audio video quality. But when we really want to focus on providing the absolute best quality, we want to outfit your instructors with the best possible. So, starting from the most basic of scenarios, if you have somebody who's trying to teach from home, well, number one, if you've ever used Teams on a single screen, you know that it's pretty helpful to have that second monitor. So we're going to recommend having a second monitor, if possible, for your instructors. But we're also going to recommend a dedicated audio peripheral and a dedicated camera. Yes, laptop cameras have come a long ways, but for $50 or less, you can get an even better camera that will plug directly into your device, Teams certified, and provide the best possible quality. Same thing with the speakers. Your microphone and your speakers on your laptop or your desktop, depending on what kind of device you have, can vary really a lot. By using something like a speaker puck, and let's see if I don't have this zip tied too closely, let's point it down. This is what you're listening to me on right now. Carefully put that down. Sorry if that was too loud. That provides me the best experience, so I can hear and see. I can hear you. You can hear me. Hopefully, without too much of an echo or anything like that. No, it's not a professional studio microphone, but it is definitely better than what I got on my laptop. This is ideal for teachers, educators who want presentation-focused material and are going to spend a lot of time seated. But what about educators who are going to want to start to show collaborative content? That's where we've got Teach from Home with a mobile device. So oftentimes when I join a meeting, I'm going to use my Surface to annotate and use a whiteboard because I've got a Surface and a pen. But not everybody out there has a Surface. We know that. We'd love you to have Surfaces. But by connecting something like an iPad, iPhone, or Android device, you can use that device in the Teams meeting to whiteboard and share content. Something not a lot of people have thought about, but it's a really great way to share and annotate content with your class. Next step up is maybe you have some physical things you want to show from your Teach from Home scenario. Maybe you've got a physical whiteboard behind you. Maybe you have a 3D model of a cell for your biology class. Maybe you've just got a paper in front of you that you want people to see and you just don't have a digital copy of it. Well, that again is where your mobile device can come to play. You can point your mobile device at whatever content and use that as a second video capture device to share it with a class. Now for our last two Teach from Home scenarios. These are stepping things up majorly. These are things that maybe the institution is going to provide to an educator. We see this a lot more in higher ed, even with tenured professors, but we've got options. So teaching from home, you could use an interactive whiteboard. We have interactive whiteboards through a lot of our OEMs, meaning a lot of the hardware partners we work with, that will work with Microsoft Teams. This could be something that sits in a permanent home office and pairs really well with, again, a webcam and a speaker to provide the best experience and provides a little bit more collaboration. The cream of the crop, the Cadillac of experiences out there, is going to be our Surface Hub, though. We do have a lot of instructors, again, higher ed mainly, that are using a Surface Hub. in their home office to educate with. A lot of you might have seen Dr. David Kellerman and videos from him at the University of New South Wales. Look it up if you haven't. He's great with our technologies and great with showing how to use Microsoft technologies. But he teaches all of his courses from his home office with the Surface Hub. It works amazingly well. He's able to use all of the features of Teams. He's able to whiteboard out. He's able to annotate. He's able to share content and do it in a seamless manner. And I get that these are expensive. That's why I said this is the cream of the crop, top end solution. And this is really something you want to consider if you've got a faculty member who's teaching from home permanently and is really on staff and you have the budget to support this. But this is not a required configuration. Next up, let's look at some learning space configurations. Now, to talk about learning space configurations, I want to introduce and reintroduce two categories of devices. A lot of what we just talked about, with the exception of the Surface Hub, are what we call the personal category of devices. If we go back to that slide I had open just near the beginning, personal devices are PCs, mobile devices, audio and video peripherals like headsets, speaker pucks, and even webcams, and desk phones, which we don't talk too much about in EDU, but they are out there. Instead, now we're going to talk about our shared device category. And for that, we're going to introduce two different areas. First of all, we've got Teams rooms. What are Teams rooms? Teams rooms are modular device category. It's a modular device category. It's our solution for hybrid learning environments where the educator and maybe some of the students are joining from a physical classroom and some students are joining from home. You may call it hybrid, you may call it high flex, remote learning, even in-person learning with a student home sick or who just physically can't get into the classroom that day. These rooms are purpose-built calling and meeting solutions designed to deliver the most inclusive, collaborative experience while keeping everything equitable for the students who can't be there in person. Now, when I say purpose-built, what I mean is the experience is specifically and thoughtfully designed by Microsoft, specifically for your faculty, staff, and students. Teams rooms are really easy to use for your educators. They're going to bring the best experience, and it's going to be similar to use to a actual Teams client on their mobile device or on their desktop device. The great thing about Teams rooms, though, is they bring premium audio and video and presentation capabilities to any space. So sometimes people don't realize how valuable that audio and video is. But when you think about the world of hybrid learning that a lot of you are in right now, and a lot of us are unfortunately looking to the horizon with Delta variants and things like that, it's never been more critical to capture audio and video properly. It's extremely important for students who are attending a class remotely to be able to see and hear what's happening in the classroom as if they were sitting right there. And it's almost as important that the educator and sometimes the other students are able to see and hear and view those students who aren't there in person to provide the right collaborative experience. So that's where Teams rooms comes to play. And they're not one size fits all. They can be configured to meet almost any size or shape room. On this slide, you see a couple of images. In the main images, we've got a smaller classroom and a few others that I'm going to show. We're going to kind of walk through a little bit further. The next category device is a smaller category, but a very powerful category, and that's our Surface Hubs. For those who haven't seen the Surface Hubs before, I talked about it just a moment ago, but Surface Hubs are basically large touchscreen devices that are purpose-built by Microsoft, all in one, that have a version of Windows running on them so you can access your favorite apps. You can join Teams meetings, you can share content, you can whiteboard out. We've seen these work great in education scenarios. So I'm going to walk you through some of these configurations. First up, we have our small classroom. And I do keep seeing chats in the messages in the chat about cost. We're going to go through, hold tight on that. We're going to talk about things. What I'm putting in front of you are potential solutions. Surface Hub, for example, fully admit that is the most expensive thing I'm going to talk about today. Is it required to make Teams meetings work properly in your classrooms? Absolutely not. We have a wide array of devices scaling from under $1,000 to all the way up to the Surface Hub. And we've been able to help customers in real education scenarios, school districts, universities, colleges, everybody in between to take advantage of this stuff. So classroom experiences, first of all, what you're looking at, so I kind of recognize this as an elementary classroom, maybe high school, maybe a small college or university course. We've seen this work really well. This is actually a case study that I've got publicly. I'll share that with you from Susquehanna School District deployed Teams room systems in a bunch of their classrooms. The way this works is there's a center of room console for the teacher or educator to use to join the meeting, to access all the meeting components. There's some cameras, maybe a PTZ camera that can point, tilt, and zoom, or an auto tracking camera that's placed in the class that can watch the instructor walk around, and a small screen for the instructor to be able to see the other students. Oftentimes in these K-12 scenarios, you don't necessarily want the students to see each other and be distracted by each other. So we've got that screen facing the teacher, but that can be changed around. We can use existing displays. We can use projectors. Pictured here, we've got a webcam from Jabra, another webcam from Logitech to be able to switch between what we want to show, and Logitech's Tap and Rally Plus kit, which makes all of this work. If we step up to the next area, we've got our discussion classrooms. These are classrooms that are still a little bit smaller, but the discussion, the collaboration is so important. It's less often one-to-many teaching, and it's more often students involving and including each other. And this is where we really want students to be able to see each other, regardless of if they're in person or online. So we have front of room camera captures to capture not only the teacher, but students with speakers and cameras and microphones placed around the room so that we can actually capture everything and everybody. We could add a Surface Hub to this mix as well to allow whoever's at the front of the room to share, draw on a whiteboard, and collaborate. And lastly, we have our lecture halls. For those who college and university folks who are here, I'm sure that your lecture halls, a lot of you have microphones and speakers and projectors and large screens already there. The awesome thing about Teams room systems is with how modular they are in our partner network, you can connect all of that stuff and light it up with Teams capabilities. And if you don't have those things and you're looking to upgrade, we have accessories available for that as well. So let's break this down. At home, if you're a student, we'd love for you to use cameras, headsets, and speakerphones to get the best experience. But if that is out of range, we totally want to support you using just a device as well. Next up, we got our educators. It's pretty essential that educators use certified Teams devices. Now, I saw some recommendations in the chat that people are throwing out about devices that may not be necessarily Teams certified. Now, I want to go back to that just for a moment. Teams certified devices do go through rigorous testing with us. Manufacturers are required to comply with certain audio and video bitrate qualities. And then we go through testing to see noise cancellation, to see if they can handle network interruptions, all sorts of things. And so if you are supplying or recommending peripherals to students or educators, really recommend doing Teams certified ones. It's not there as just a ploy, or we don't even get money out of it, but it is something that just makes sure that you're going to get the right quality you expect. Now, moving to the classroom experiences, we've got peripherals you can use again. And then we have a category I didn't really show in any of our mock-ups, but integrated bars. Picture a sound bar that you might have at home at your TV with a camera smack dab in the middle of it. It connects to a screen with an HDMI port, and ta-da, you have a Teams capable room. Now, we don't want to do that for too large of spaces because it's just one camera. It's not modular like the rest of our systems, but it works. Then for the rest of our scenarios, we recommend some sort of combination of rooms, accessories, and if you can swing it, a Surface Hub to add the collaborative experience as well. Okay, now I'm gonna blow through just a few last items on Teams device experiences. As I mentioned before, inclusivity, easy to use, flexible, and security are all part of our platform for Teams rooms and devices. Now I'm going to go through some of these experiences, and note I'm going to go real fast here, but I'm sure you guys can get access to these slides afterwards. I'll figure out with Heather how to make that happen. Number one, all of our Teams devices, you're going to be able to make sure everybody is able to be seen and heard. Those video layout options that you've got right now in Teams, like together mode and large gallery, all of that is available on the Teams rooms, as well as even some more gallery views on top of that. We even want to increase engagement. So we allow you to use your mobile device to wirelessly share content, or your Windows device. You don't need to worry about, do I have the right cable or adapter to make this happen? And even using a phone or tablet to increase experiences. The next thing, I know a lot of you have physical whiteboards inside of your classrooms. With our Teams room systems, you can have a dedicated web camera pointed at that physical whiteboard. And then as you see on this little GIF here, the remote participants are able to see that whiteboard, and we will even kind of transparent out the person who walks in front of the whiteboard so everyone can see what's happening regardless of where they are. The next thing I want to bring up, while Teams room systems are meant to pair immediately with Teams, they do work in a way with Zoom and WebEx. So if a outside entity sends you a Zoom or a WebEx meeting that you need to join using your Teams room system, you can join that with a single click as well. All right, in the interest of time, I'm going to show you one video. I promise it will be fast, and then I'll answer any last questions and we'll close things out. This video is not education specific, but it shows you our vision and features that we plan to release over the next few months to enhance the way Teams rooms work with this whole hybrid learning and work scenarios. All right. If you couldn't hear that video, I'm going to paste the link to it on YouTube into the chat so you can get easy access to it. But a few last things for you. This slide is clickable if you actually click on these links. We have an interactive demo so you can try out what a Teams room system feels and looks like. Kind of click through it and play around. We have a whole page full of hundreds of Teams certified devices. And if you are looking to get started with Teams rooms, we have a whole set of partners that are certified and ready to work with education at our Meeting Room Partner Program site. So please check them out. I see a lot of conversation in the chat. Thank you all for participating there. Just to quickly answer a couple things. I do not know if we have plans in the Facebook portal on their solution, but I will check into that and try to get that answer back to this community. Looks like the rest of them are about maybe audio issues with the YouTube video, so I'll share that.
Thanks so much, Max. And actually, these 3 links, I want you to keep this slide up for everybody, and I've grabbed them so that we can include them potentially to the community on the page. But I think these are really great next steps. I am glad that I have them now, moving forward into additional conversations that I'm going to have with folks who are really intrigued by this. And again, I see some chat around, you know, the Surface being dubbed, the Hub 2S being dubbed too expensive. I want to echo what Max said earlier. Do we think that that's an amazing solution? Absolutely. But is that the only way that you can take a bite out of the elephant? Completely not true. So I really would advise you to click specifically in the middle on the devices as well as the partner program. I think that, you know, based on what we've seen that Max has been able to provide that I can see just readily available, I'm sold on the idea of this as a faculty member myself. This is exactly what I want my environment to be. If I were in K-12, I would want these environments to be able to, you know, to interact with my students and my colleagues in a really important way. So Max, I think I speak for everyone when I say thanks so much for sharing these resources and your time today with us. We will always post this video, as we do all of them, on our YouTube channel, and we'll share this out broadly. But if you've got any follow-ups, questions that you have regarding Teams rooms, let's post them in the community channel, and then we can always route those to the appropriate person internally.
Just to really quickly address it, because 2 people asked me to. There's a question about federated auth and the Surface Hub logon process being a little clunky. We design our products now around Azure AD Auth instead of federated auth. That being said, we always want to provide the best experience to all sorts of customers. So I would love to hear more about that. If you can post more details in this chat, maybe after the meeting ends, I will follow up and try to see where we're at with that.
Awesome. All right, I think Heather is ending our recording. As she said, we've got security and compliance as our topic for